We always get her voice saying that. And yes, so we've got a 1-minute English this morning, again, which I think you'll find interesting. And once again, we'll be able to look for examples of that in our 6-minute article that will give us yet another subject area for vocabulary and collocations. Right. Please make sure that you have said hello in the chat so that I can make sure you get credit for being here. Okay. Who's on the iPhone? Can you type in your name? Or tell me your name? Either one. Hello. Okay. There we go. Very good. Super. So just type in a message in the chat so that I've got a record that you were here, and then I'll make sure you get credit for being here. Super important. Right. Let's go see what the BBC has to teach us today about grammar and vocabulary. Make sure I find the right page. There we are. Okay. And now I'm going to share my screen. Do the whole thing. With sound. There we go. Right. Good morning. Here we are. Fantastic. So this one is about time expressions. And when do we use in with a time?
Hi, I'm Phil from BBC Learning English. Today I'm going to tell you 5 ways to use in with time expressions. Number 1, months. I can say I'm going on holiday in May. Number 2, seasons. So we can say in winter it's cold. Number 3, years. So I can say I finished school in 2000. Number 4, most times of day. I leave home in the morning. I get home in the evening, but I go to sleep at night. It's an exception. Number 5, we use it with in the past, in the present, and in the future. In the future, you'll learn everything from videos.
What do you think of that? Shall we try the questions?
Yeah, just can you explain the last one about the future or present?
Big times, like the future. And actually anything that's got the in front of it, you're usually in. So in the future, in the past, there's sort of great big times. So
what I got from the video, in my belief, it is it shows a time interval.
yes.
For example, if I say in May, so it's not specific on which particular day.
No, it's the whole month.
Yes, if I say in summer, so I don't know the month. If I say in the future, I don't even know the year.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So they are very general. What if your holiday is the 5th of May? How would that sentence change?
On.
Yes, on the 5th of May. Exactly. So for a specific date, it's on. How about day of the week? What would you use? What preposition would you use with a day of the week?
On.
Yes, on Mondays. On Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
Exactly. How about 12 o'clock Tuesday.
At, I think.
What preposition would you use?
At.
At, exactly. At 12 o'clock on Tuesday. Excellent. Good job. And they say at night is a bit of a is a bit different, but there's other times of day that we use at with. How about sunrise? I always get up
6 in the morning.
What time is that? What
At 6, maybe.
at 6 o'clock? Yes. But if I get up at sunrise, once again, I'm using at. So at is for night, sunrise. How about midnight?
In.
How about midnight?
At,
At midnight. At midnight. And so the afternoon gets in, as you see, but if I'm doing something and it happens exactly at 12 o'clock, what other word would we use? At noon. We would say at noon. It might be in the afternoon or in the evening, but it's at night, at noon. And at midnight. There we go. Cool. Shall we do the quiz? See how you do?
Yes.
Which ones are good and which one isn't? I last saw him in the morning. Yes or no?
No.
yes, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. In the morning. I'll be home in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's okay.
At.
She'll see you in the evening.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The plane lands late, so I'll see you in night.
At night.
No.
That's
That
gonna
was
be
the
at.
exception, right? Exactly. Good job. Very good. See you at night. So, which of the following do we not use in with?
Days.
Days, exactly. We do in months, in years. What do we use with days?
At,
On.
On Monday. Exactly. So days get on. I will, you know what, I'll write some of these out as a set of rules and send that along this week so that they're all written down. So which season do we not use in? Is there a season that we don't use in?
Autumn.
Actually,
autumn. D.
I don't think so. We use them all, I think.
yes,
In winter, in spring, yeah. In summer, in autumn.
yes. It is a trick question. That's why they gave that extra answer. You kind of wonder, but in
All
the
the season,
in
yeah.
winter, in spring, in summer, and in autumn. Really good. Okay, so I found us a wonderful article on health science. So we had environmental science we had last week. What was our subject? Do you remember last week's subject? Does anyone?
The Darwin theory.
Yes, it was about evolution and
Evolution.
climate change. Exactly. So today we're going to listen to something about pandemics. I thought it was useful since we've been through one. and this is about how they end. So I want you to listen for expressions of time and the prepositions that are used within those expressions of time. Okay, so while you're listening to it, try and see if you hear any expressions of time using in, on, or at. Okay.
6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello, this is 6 Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Sam.
And I'm Neil.
In March 2020, the World Health Organization, the WHO, declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Now, after 2.5 years in the shadow of COVID, for many people, travel restrictions are ending, and many people around the world are starting their lives again. But not everyone.
Whether it's because of lockdowns and not seeing friends, or getting sick, even dying, everyone wants to see an end to the pandemic. But with cases of COVID infections still in the millions, and doctors warning about new variants of the disease, is the pandemic really coming to an end? In this programme, we'll be finding out how pandemics end, and, as usual, we'll be learning some related vocabulary as well.
Of course, pandemics are nothing new. Ancient texts are full of stories of plagues which spread death and disease before eventually going away. In the Middle Ages, the Black Death that killed over half of Europe's population lasted for 4 years. It's only with modern vaccines that diseases have been eradicated, completely ended. So, Neil, my question this week is, which disease was eradicated in 1977? Was it A, cholera, B, polio, or C, smallpox?
I'm going to say C, smallpox.
Okay, I'll reveal the answer at the end of the programme.
Of course, the idea that the pandemic might not be ending isn't something people want to hear. Most people are sick of worrying about COVID and can't wait for things to get back to normal. But as Yale University physician Professor Nicholas Christakis explained to BBC World Service programme The Inquiry, it's not just the biological disease that needs to end. Pandemics have a social ending too.
Pandemics are not just a biological phenomenon, they're also a social phenomenon, and they end socially. And one of the ways that they end socially is when everyone just sort of agrees that they have ended, when everyone is simply willing to tolerate more risk. In other words, we sort of declare victory, maybe prematurely, or another way of thinking about it is we put our heads in the sand.
Biologically, COVID still exists in the world, and most of us would rather not catch it. But if you're vaccinated, the risk of getting seriously ill is much lower, so it's reasonable to make plans to resume normal life. When enough people do this, we declare victory, a phrase meaning to announce something to be finished before it actually is, but when it looks good enough.
The danger is that we declare victory prematurely, too soon, before it's the best time to do so. Professor Christakis uses another idiom for this, to bury your head in the sand, meaning to deliberately refuse to accept the truth about something you find unpleasant.
It's also true that pandemics do not end in the same way for everyone everywhere. Rich Western countries with the resources to vaccinate their populations are in a better position than most.
Professor Dora Varga is an expert on the history of medicine. She compares the COVID pandemic to an ongoing disease for which we have no cure and which has killed millions since its outbreak in the 1980s, HIV/AIDS. Here is Professor Varga speaking with the BBC World Service's The Inquiry.
What happened with a case of HIV/AIDS is that it became from being an immediate death sentence, basically, to a manageable chronic disease. But that happens in societies that have the means and the infrastructure to make that possible with medication. And that is not necessarily true for all parts of the world. But we don't think about the HIV/AIDS pandemic as an ongoing pandemic.
Although HIV has no cure, modern medical drugs allow people to continue living with the disease for years. HIV is no longer a death sentence, a phrase meaning the punishment of death for committing a crime or from an incurable disease.
Nowadays, HIV is no longer fatal. It has become a disease which can be controlled and is chronic or long-lasting. We no longer think of AIDS as a pandemic, but that's not true everywhere, only in countries which can provide the necessary medical drugs and support.
Finding the right balance of COVID restrictions for communities of people exhausted by the pandemic isn't easy. Many scientists are warning that we haven't yet reached the beginning of the end of COVID, but hopefully we're at least reaching the end of the beginning.
Let's finish the programme on a hopeful note by remembering that diseases can and do eventually end, like in your quiz question, Sam.
Ah, yes. I asked which disease was eradicated in 1977. Neil said it was smallpox, which was the correct answer. Well done, Neil. Smallpox no longer occurs naturally, but did you know that samples of smallpox do still exist, frozen in American and Soviet laboratories during the Cold War?
As if the thought that the COVID pandemic might never end isn't scary enough. Right, let's recap the vocabulary we've learnt, starting with eradicate, to completely get rid of something such as a disease.
If you declare victory, you announce something to be finished before it actually is. The danger in doing this is that you announce it prematurely or too soon.
The idiom bury your head in the sand means to refuse to accept or look at a situation you don't like.
A death sentence means the punishment of death for committing a crime or from an incurable disease.
And finally, a chronic disease is one which lasts for a long time. Even though the pandemic hasn't ended, our programme has, because our 6 minutes are up. Bye for now.
Bye.
6 Minute English
from the BBC.
There we go. So did you notice the time?
Yes.
There were a couple of times that were used. Some on, some in. I don't know if there was an at. Right.
And there was 40 years.
Yes, very good. So good stuff. And it's nice. We had a lot of good health related and certainly pandemic or epidemic related language in there. I will, of course, as usual, include the link in the email. I recommend that you review this to remember the vocabulary and some of the grammar that was used, the collocations. It's a good opportunity to write a summary. See if you can get just the main points into a summary. Right? And how do we write a summary? What do we do to write a summary? That when we're faced with a horrible blank page.
The conclusion.
Oh.
Sum it up?
Yep, we sum it up, but how do we do that? Fatima, we talked about that last week. Can you tell them?
It's basically given a short story on about something, just being short.
Yes.
The statement, I think.
Cut on the chase.
What do we have to do to make the summary? We have to answer
the question, I think, in the
what are the questions?
What, where, who, where,
yeah. What,
our
where,
W
when.
questions. Precisely.
Which.
Good job.
Which, yeah.
Which.
Exactly. Our W questions. That's exactly right. So you can do a summary. You summarize by answering who, what happened, who did it, what happened, where, when, why, and how. Okay, if you can answer those questions, you can write a summary. All right. So that's how you write a summary. Remember, just answer the questions. That's all there is to it. So, and you can do that also. Where else can you do that? I didn't have any visitors this time. Where else can you do that? On the Padlet page. Okay. So you can read these and write a summary below using the plus sign. Right? I'll keep adding them. I hope you'll keep reading them. Okay. So, right, let's review a sentence. So what are the parts of this? What is a core sentence? What does our core sentence contain?
At, I think. Who did what?
And who did what is used, we know who did what by, yeah, no, that's fine. Who did what is our subject?
Verb.
There we go. Our verb.
And the object.
And our object. Okay, so I have written a core sentence here. Marjan, good friend of mine, Marjan will be studying, so a nice big compound complex verb, medicine. Marjan will be studying medicine. It's a sentence. It's a core sentence. It's a complete sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have a lot of information in it?
Yeah.
No.
This is a very short sentence. Marjan will be studying medicine. I'm really glad she will be. So down below, now this time what I've done is I've put in lettered blanks. And down here, I've put in a selection of clauses with extra information, right? So this will tell us where and when, and a little bit more about who. So which one of these phrases goes in which blank?
For the next 2 years goes at A.
I agree.
Three goes in second.
Does everyone agree?
Yes.
There we go. And why does that go there? Because it's about, what is this? Who wants to be a doctor? What is that describing?
Marjan.
Marjan, yeah. So it has to go next to her. Right.
C1.
Yes.
For D.
Yes. Now, what is this clause describing? Because remember, a clause always relates to something in the sentence. What is this clause describing?
In university, which university?
Yeah, the Glasgow University.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
place. Yeah, place, yeah.
So you can have clauses that describe something in another clause. Okay, that's how you can actually, it's the big secret to making English more complex, to getting more information in, is that you can even have clauses that describe other clauses, that modify, that expand on other clauses. All right, so good job, everyone. Now, do we have a sentence that gives us a lot of information?
Yes.
We know a lot more about Marjan now, don't we? This is good. Okay. So once again, this is how we build information into a sentence. Make sure you've got your core. Did we lose our core? Is our verb still doing its job?
Wants.
It is still doing its job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, there are other verbs, but they've got a who and a which in front of them. And then these two are prepositional. So for is a preposition and it's telling us when.
Can we count want as a verb here?
It is a verb, but it's not active. Okay, it's a verb inside a clause. And because it's inside a clause, it can't carry the sentence. If we didn't have will be studying, if it was only for the next 2 years, Marjan, who wants to be a doctor, medicine at Glasgow University, which is in Scotland. We don't have an active verb in that sentence because each of the others verbs are inside a clause. If it's inside a clause, it's not active. Does that make sense?
Is it what we call helping or linking a verb?
Helping and linking verbs, yes. I've included all of the helping verbs inside of will be studying because I'm using the future continuous. And
I
think to be
it's
actually.
you
can go ahead, Abdul.
Okay, thank you. Wants, I think it's called sense verb or something. Wants, need, feel.
yes, but you know what? We could have a sentence that said Marjan wants to be a doctor.
Then it's active.
Then it's active. But because it's in a clause, it can't, because it's pink, right? It's in this nice pink clause. It can't be dark green. It can't be green. It's not.
It's confusing.
Yeah. Well, this is why I'm using the colors, because the verb will always be green on my pages. All right. If we can make this green, but we have to make the whole clause, but it only exists inside that clause. All right. So as soon as it's packed into a clause, it stops being, it can't be the verb that holds the whole sentence together. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why I started with our subject, verb, and object. So we do that. Oops, that was the wrong one. Oh, there we go. Orange. There we go. And subject. Okay. Did it again. Okay. I have to highlight it before I change the color. Thank you. There we go. So there we go. There's our structure. We can see from this, we've got a subject, a verb, and an object. We can find them in our sentence because I started with them. All of the other clauses are hanging off of, are dependent upon that main sentence, also known as an independent clause. All right. So English is all about the clauses. So when you pack information in, do it in these parcels, if it's parceled into clauses, and you can still see your core sentence, then you're good. Okay, then your grammar will be strong. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we gotta have a strong, just like if who here is an athlete? Who here trains for any sport?
Yeah, at home.
Yeah. I trained as a figure skater, and one of the things that in order to do all of those amazing movements on little blades of metal on ice, you have to have a strong core. Okay, so this is our sentence building fitness. We have to have a strong core, and then we can add all of this extra information in clauses. If we don't have a strong core, if that verb is, if we put that verb inside, behind a preposition or inside another phrase, then we lose our strong core, and our sentence falls apart. All right, so we always have to have a strong core, and then we can add all of this other information. So I'm going to keep repeating this and giving us more exercises to do. But this is the challenge. So I really want you to focus on that subject, verb, object, and making sure that every sentence you have starts with that before you put in all of the extra information. It's challenging, I know. I will find, okay, next, our next exercise on this, I will show you a really wonderful sentence that one of my students has written in the past. They're full of ideas, but no grammar. So we'll have to find the core sentence that we can use to hold the whole sentence together. All right. And we'll do it the other way around next time.
That's perfect.
All right. Any questions on that at all? Hopefully not.
I got one.
Okay, go.
It's a simple one, but it's still it's a little confusing for me. For example, if I say Ali is a good boy, he is not only intelligent, but also a kind person. I see no verb and subject in here, but it's a complete sentence.
Okay. You started with Ali is a good boy. And then you said not only.
He is not only.
He is not only. Okay. And actually, you can end that sentence there. He is not only
Intelligent.
Intelligent, but was it but also?
A kind person.
A kind person. Excellent. Well, there you go. We've got two sentences. First of all, Ali is a good boy. That is a sentence. We have a subject right there. And we have a verb right there. And we have an object right there. Perfect. Excellent sentence. All right. What is our subject in this next sentence?
Technically, he.
Exactly, he. Right. What is our verb?
Is again. Is again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once again, is. Exactly. And what is our object?
It's not only intelligent. There is
Yeah.
always object.
Exactly. So we could actually say, oh, geez, I keep doing that. Okay. He is intelligent. All right. He is intelligent. Now,
But it's
not only is describing, is modifying intelligent. He is not just intelligent, but so once again,
that means it's adjective.
it is. It is.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But it's
It is additional information.
information is a but it's a
Exactly.
conjunction word. Yeah.
Because we could take this sentence apart and say he is intelligent. He is also a kind person. All right. But we only need one he is, and not only means more than just, right? So we've modified intelligent with not only, and we have added this extra information at the end. Okay. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Considering the rule for the parts of speech, again, intelligent is adjective. So how we can count this as object?
You can be intelligent. You could say he is intelligent.
Yeah, that's true. What I mean is, if we analyze the sentence into the parts of speech, so intelligent is adjective. So my question is, can we use adjective as an object also? Considering the technicality of the structure you give us.
Yes. Yes. He is intelligent. That's that's interesting because there's not really being a noun there. It is a descriptor. It is, it's not, yeah, it's a descriptor. It's not really an adjective. Well, of course, that describes an adjective. In the simple sentence, it is the object of the sentence. Okay. Because it is what he is. It's what, it answers the question, what? Who did what? He is intelligent. Okay. The part of speech is less relevant at that point. It doesn't have to be a noun. When we say that someone is something. Okay. It makes more sense to say he is intelligent than he is a ball. Because that would be a sentence. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. I think I'll look that up and see if I can find a further explanation of that. But it is simply the object of the sentence. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bother anyone.
No,
with this.
that's all right. I like challenges like that, and I'm going to see if I can come up with a clearer explanation.
Yeah.
Even than that. How's that?
That's why children can learn faster than adults can, because we analyze things.
I like challenging questions. It's good. But I will come back to you with that answer because I want to see what some of my grammar books have to say about that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. So what did we do last week? We thought about kindness and we generated some ideas, didn't we? Right. Oh, I've used up too much time. Okay. So we've thought about how kindness affects us. And we thought up some of these ideas, and then we found that, wait a minute, we've used the same words in some of these. And there we go. We came up with our planned paragraph out of that. What I'd like to, we've got a couple of minutes. We'll use a couple of minutes on this. We spent a lot of time on this, our sentence. What are ways of starting? We've got all of these beautiful ideas here. We know what we're going to include in our examples. What are some good ways of starting a paragraph? What would you say at the beginning of a paragraph?
An introduction, I think, that for the topic.
Yeah. So how would you start your introduction on a paragraph about kindness?
Writing a topic sentence.
But by describing the.
So try and think up, see if you can, in the next few minutes, I'll give you a minute to think about it. See if you can think up or write down an opening sentence, an introductory sentence for this. What would you say to introduce this topic? Right. Has anyone thought of how they would start a paragraph about kindness with this information in it?
I will start to describe the general kindness.
Okay, how would you say? What would you say?
I will. I say kindness is a wonderful behavior that everybody should
You could start with a question.
Yeah.
It's a way of thinking about it. So this is all right. So what this week's assignment, I want everyone to because we've spent a lot of time on on our other things. So this week's assignment is, let's start thinking of opening sentences. I really need you to spend some time. I want you to think of what sentence would you write to start this paragraph? All right. What sentence would you write to start this paragraph? We know what we're going to talk about. Helping others without asking. How it feels when someone holds the door for you. Helping someone across the road or climb the stairs. How it feels to do that. In a queue, the act of letting someone else go first or giving way to other vehicles on the road. Okay. So we know what we're going to include in the paragraph. So what kinds of words would you use to start the paragraph, to introduce the idea? There's different ways that we can start things. We could say some people think it is good to be kind. Actually, that's kind of silly. Most people think it is good to be kind. But what is kindness? All right.
That's okay.
So if we start with that, then we could talk about helping other people without asking, helping someone across the road. Okay. So there's different ways that you can start this sentence. Now I've come up with 2 questions that we could start with. See if we can find a statement. A little of kindness makes the world bit nicer and feels good too. So we could start with a statement. All right. So all of these startings will give us a slightly different way of talking about our subjects as well. I don't know if you can see that it shifts it ever so slightly.
Can I say how kindness is change our life, for example, or change everybody's life?
Okay.
Is how
like that?
Yeah. For be kind to change somebody's life.
Yeah. Or can change someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another way of starting this. Yes, it's a good statement. And then throughout your paragraph, you're talking about how all of these acts of kindness change people's lives. Exactly. Really good. That's very good. Thank you. All right. I will include this again in the email, and let's see if you can start. And the challenge is see how much of the paragraph you can write. All right. So, any other questions on the paragraph organization? And the process of writing a paragraph. That's starting with the ideas, starting with some kind of a subject statement, and then coming up with as many ideas as we can, and then organizing those. All right. So at this point, we've got them all organized. So it's just a matter of our starting sentence, and then we're off and running. Each of these just needs to be turned into a 1 or 2 complex or simple sentences. All right. Because we've got our ideas. All we've got to do is turn these ideas into sentences. All right. It's excellent practice. Give it a try. This is absolutely the same process that you will need for the IELTS exam. All right. So, any questions on that? Yes? Okay. I will also write a paragraph on this so you can see what mine is, but I want you to bring your own next week as well, please. If you have not, we've got a few more people who have come in. If you have not written anything in the chat, please say hello there. Because that's how I'm making sure that everybody gets credit for being here this week, because we don't have Corin to take attendance in the background. So if you haven't yet written anything in the chat, please make sure you do. I get a copy of the chat at the end, so I'll be able to make sure that everyone gets credit for being here. So I don't want you to miss out. Right, well, it's that time where we move on to our IELTS section. Today we are going to, by request, we're going to look at the section 3 and section 4 of the listening exam. And this is where it gets harder. So one thing I want to make sure that everyone remembers, how many different versions of the IELTS exam are there?
4.
1. How many levels? Does it
3?
measure?
Is it 3 or 4?
No, there's only one exam for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are a level 9 or a level 3, you sit the same exam. All right.
Okay.
Most everybody here needs a 7, right?
Okay.
We need our 7s to get into our university programs. That's the one. So if you're not able to do level 8 and level 9, what does that mean about the exam? What does that mean about the questions on the exam? There's going to be questions that are too hard. Okay. And all we have to, what do we do when we hit a question that's too hard?
We just leave it.
Leave it, answer all the questions you can answer, guess on the rest.
Get back to it when you finish. Come back.
At the end, you can guess. You can try and make a wild stab at anything that you didn't get the first time through. Save the guessing for the end. There's plenty of time for that. So we're just going to relax and we're going to answer as many as we can. And anytime we start to feel that anxiety, because there's going to be questions that make you feel anxious. I see questions that make me feel anxious on this stuff. And I have to go, it's okay. It's just a question. We can get through it. Okay. So a little reminder of that. We're going to look at sections 3 and 4 of one of the British Council exams. Just because I think they're a lot clearer and they show the specific difficulties of these exams a little better than the Barron's practice ones that we started on. But the Barron's one has that great map, which is really important. So I like to show you a variety of, so that you can see all of the different things that you are likely to encounter. Okay, so off we go. We're going to look at section 3. And I need to share the screen. Okay, here we go. Share screen. With the sound. Awesome. There we go. Right. So here we go. Here's a set of questions. These are on, are people talking about a book? All right. So what have we got here? These are all gap fills, aren't they? And what's our instruction? What can we put into each of these blanks?
It's
Less than 3 words.
No more than 3 words. That is key word, yeah.
Okay, so how many words, what are our options? What are
Up to 3 words.
2 words, main, or 3.
It could be 1 word.
Or 2 or 3.
Or 2 or 3. Okay.
Mhm.
When it says no more, it doesn't mean that it means that it can be less than 3 words. Okay, so it can be 1, it can be 2. Can it be 4?
No.
No, it cannot be 4.
It's 4, yeah.
4 is more than 3 words. So it can be less than 3 words, but it cannot be more than 3 words. All right. If you can, if you've got a piece of paper, just write the numbers 21 through 40 on the paper. And that will help you because you can just write your answer next to that as you go. Okay. And this is the real challenge of the listening exam, because you have to listen, you have to read the questions, you have to listen, and you have to write all at the same time. All right. So we've got kind of an outline that we're going to be filling in here. Something we're going to find out something about the novel. What do you think that might be? What does every book have?
Book have like a story or something describing.
Yeah, what's the first thing you see when you pick up a book? What's the first
Title.
thing? Yes, the title. So that's probably going to be the title, don't you think? All right. And so question 22, what are we looking at? It even tells us what we're looking at.
Date.
Yep, so it's going to be a date. Early in. Now, what did we just learn about our prepositions for time? So what is this likely to be?
Month or year.
Exactly. It's going to be a month, a year, a season,
Season.
an epoch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So a general time. All right. If we read this one, Colin, who thinks he'll never be able to something. So what do you think that's going to be? He's never going to be able to.
A verb.
Yes, exactly. And that's the great thing when we can use the grammar to point us towards the right words. So it's going to be a verb. It's going to be something he's able to do. All right. And then point of view, number 24. An omniscient narrator knows all about characters' feelings, opinions, and something. Okay. So we're going to be listening when they talk about the narrator. We're going to be listening. We already know that we're going to be listening to words that mean the same as feelings, mean the same as opinions, and something else. Okay. So once again, the questions have the answers right inside them. The answers are inside the questions. So let's get started.
Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a tutor and 2 students who are preparing for an English literature test. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Glad you could make it. You're the only 2 who put your names down for this literature tutorial, so let's get started, shall we? I want to run over some aspects of the novel The Secret Garden with you before the test next week. Be sure to take some notes and ask questions if you need to.
Hey, Lorna, have you got a spare pen?
Sure, here you are.
Okay, so the story follows two key characters. You should refer to them as protagonists, who go by the names of Mary Lennox and Colin Craven. The story is set shortly after the turn of the 20th century, and the narrative tracks the development of the protagonists as they learn to overcome their own personal troubles together.
That's quite a common storyline, isn't it?
Yes, you're right, Lorna. So what can you tell me about the character of Mary?
Well, in the beginning, she is an angry, rude child who was orphaned after a cholera outbreak and forced to leave India and move to the United Kingdom to her uncle's house in Yorkshire.
That's right. And there she meets Colin, who spends his days in an isolated room, believing himself to be permanently crippled, with no hope of ever gaining the ability to walk. The two strike up a friendship and gradually learn, by encouraging each other, that they can both become healthy, happy, and fulfilled in life.
Will we need to remember a lot of these details for the exam?
Just the basic outline. Examiners don't want to read a plot summary. They know what the book is about. Focus on narrative techniques instead, such as point of view.
What's that mean?
It's all about how we see the story. This story, for example, is written from the perspective of what is called an omniscient narrator. Omniscient means all-knowing. So as readers, we get to see how all the characters feel about things, what they like and don't like, and what their motivations are in the story. Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
Right. How did you do?
I couldn't spot. I only scored 2.
Okay. Let's go all the way through. Oops, I need to get that so you can see it. Right. Right. Let me just change the shape of this. There we go. Let's go all the way through and then review them. Oops. Hopefully. Right. So, oh, no, come on. Oh, I know what I can do. That'll move it over. There we go. So once again, read through the questions, right? Symbols are physical items that represent something. And then what are these three down here? This describes a heading, okay? Physical items, symbols are physical items that represent something. We've got to find out what that something is. And then what do you think about the fact that there's a bullet list underneath that?
A list of the symbols.
It's a list of the symbols, exactly. So we've got 2 of the symbols there. So we're listening for the middle one. Okay, the one that's missing. Good job. Motifs are patterns in the story. Okay, we've got 2 motifs. So the structure of this really gives us a lot of information about what we're listening for. So motifs, patterns in the story. Secrecy, medical is a metaphorical and literal transition from. Okay, pretty complicated, hard to make a guess on from here. We'll simply have to listen and find out what it means. And then themes are connections between things. So there's a connection between something and the person's outlook, and there's a connection between something and the person's well-being. Okay, and then individuals, a connection between individuals and the need for something else. Okay, so we're looking for things that are connected when we get to there. All right, let's go.
Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Won't it be hard to write a technical analysis? After all, it's a kid's book.
Well, it was initially pitched at adults, you know, but over the years it has become seen as a more youth-orientated work. And you're right in a sense. The simple vocabulary and absence of foreshadowing make the story very easy to follow and ideally suited for children. But that doesn't mean there isn't much to analyze. Look at the symbolism, for instance.
Symbols are things, right? Material things like objects that stand for abstract ideas.
Absolutely, yes. And the author uses many of them. There's the robin redbreast, for example, which symbolizes the wise and gentle nature that Mary will soon adopt. Note that the robin is described as not at all like the birds in India. Roses are used as well, as a personal symbol for Mistress Craven. You'll see they're always mentioned alongside her name, and Mistress Craven's portrait can also be interpreted as a symbol of her spirit.
Are symbols just another name for motifs?
No, motifs are a bit different. They don't have as direct a connection with something the way that a symbol does. Motifs are simply recurring elements of the story that support the mood.
Are there any in this novel?
Yes, two very important ones. The Garden of Eden is a motif. It comes up a few times in connection with the garden of the story. And then you've got the role that secrets play in the story. In the beginning, everything is steeped in secrecy, and slowly the characters share their secrets, and in the process move from darkness to lightness, metaphorically, but also in the case of Colin, quite literally. His room in the beginning has the curtains drawn, and he appears at the end in the brightness of the garden.
Anything else we need to know about?
Yes. Nearly all novels explore universal concepts that everyone has experienced. Things like love, family, loneliness, friendship. These are called themes. The Secret Garden has a few themes that all center on the idea of connections. The novel explores, for example, the way that health can determine and be determined by our outlook on life. As Colin's health improves, so too do his perceptions of his strength and possibility. The author also examines the link between our environment and our physical and emotional prosperity. The dark, cramped rooms of the manor house stifle the development of our protagonists. The garden and natural environments allow them to blossom, just as the flowers do. Finally, this book looks at connections between individuals, namely Mary and Colin. This necessity of human companionship is the novel's most significant theme, because none of their development as individuals would have occurred without their knowing each other. Well, that about sums it up, I think.
That's a great help, thanks.
Yes, thanks very much.
Right. So, like I said, it gets harder. The good news is you don't need to answer all the questions. Remember, all right? The good news is you don't.
But if you get lost, you just like, yeah.
This is why practice is so important. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you will get lost. That's the biggest danger. Is if you worry about the question that has passed, you will not only miss the next answer, but then you will lose track of where you are.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest danger. That's how, you know, it's how good people fail to pass or fail to get the mark they need, is that kind of. So you see how keeping calm is super important, right? And always listening for the next one. If you worry about the question that's past, it's all over. You'll miss everything. Okay. So all of these things can be practiced again and again. I've got lots of practices up there, and before the end today, I'm going to show you a great site with some TED Talks where you can practice listening to. Okay, so how did we do? Who got the first answer? What's the title of our novel?
The Secret Something. Garden.
Yes.
No. Right?
Exactly. It's hard because
I am
I
lost.
only
so
said it
listen.
once. I'm sorry?
I am lost.
Oh.
I couldn't catch up with I catch only the Secret Garden and the second question, and then I'm lost. I was lost.
Oh no. Okay, even in the second
That's
part?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I need more practice, I think.
Okay, good. I'm good because you're seeing that you need to, and it will work. Practice will make this better. I promise. Okay.
Okay.
I really promise it will make it better. Okay. I've gotten lots of people through this. And really practice is the key. Not only just training your mind to do it, but also if the more you practice all of the parts of this exam, what the worst thing to do is to go into an exam and you look at the question and you go, oh, I don't even know what to do. Okay. Coming into an unfamiliar thing is scary. If you practice, and that means doing an exam a day in the week going up to your actual exam, do a practice exam every day. Before then, we take it slower. We do more repetitions of smaller parts, but in the end, because what you want is to go in and look at the exam and go, oh, I know what to do with this. No problem. Right. And then you're just doing something that is comfortable and familiar. All right. So the practice will help. So number 21 was the title, which was The Secret Garden. Did anyone get number 22? This one was a challenge. This was a higher level question.
The 20th century.
Yes, the 20th century. Exactly. Sorry, I'm getting hoarse. How about number 23? What was it that Colin didn't think he would ever be able to do?
Walk.
Perfect. Good job. Walk. All right. How about number 24? This was a complex one.
Motivation?
Yes. Well done. Bravo. Okay. Because no, they used the word motivation, but they didn't use the same words for feelings and opinions. They used different words for those. So you really had to be listening and know that that was what you were listening to. All right, good job. How about 25?
Abstract ideals, something like that.
Yes, abstract ideas. You got it correct. So, you wouldn't, yeah, ideas, not ideals. So,
ideas. Okay.
yeah, so you have to be careful about that. You would need to get that right. So that's 25. That's what symbols are, physical items that represent ideas. abstract ideas. And what was the missing symbol?
Roses something.
Just roses.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. Just roses. The other two are so complicated, right? That
Yeah.
I too was trying to figure out, wait, what other roses something? No, it's just roses. Did everyone get that? Did I? All right. So, again, this is all it's really hard as soon as he was talking about symbols, and he did fortunately use these headings when he was talking. All right. So as soon as you heard the word symbols, you need to make sure you're listening here. If you miss 25, don't worry about it. The next thing to do would be to listen for the robin and something else after it. Okay, because they do come in order. I hope you're seeing these all came in the order of the recording. That is the advantage. The harder questions do come in order. All right, so that was a clue, was to listen for the robin and then the next one. And I kept waiting for him to say something more about roses, but then he talked about the portrait of Mistress Craven. And I knew as soon as he started talking about the portrait that he was done talking about the roses, which means roses was the only word that was needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is part of how you let go of what's passing, because I can say it and it sounds easy, but I know it's difficult to do. So we had a lot of talking before the next one.
Yeah, it's darkness to lightness.
Yes, bravo. Well done. Well done. Jed, have you taken this before?
No, it's
You
my
haven't?
first time. And I didn't even practice.
Well, you've got really good listening skills. This is great. Well done. So the only thing that difference between this and the exam is we've had a little bit more time to, I've given you a little extra time to
Prepare.
to listen and prepare. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 28, I'm not sure about it. It wasn't something that he really.
Yes.
I think it's health.
Yes.
Ooh.
It was health. He was talking about the connections between one thing and another. And yes, it was health and outlook. Did you get 29? What contributed to well-being?
Physical well-being. Oh, is it not?
Strength.
Yes, it did talk about their physical and mental well-being.
Kumba.
So is it
Please turn
physical?
off your microphone.
Oh,
Is a human.
Thank you.
There we go. So what contributed?
Some
What was
noises.
linked with their
Sorry.
well-being?
Is it strength?
Shall I ask some noises behind someone?
Yes, I
can
think we got it
understand.
down now. Okay. Okay, so so we're looking at the connections. So
Yes.
it was their health and their outlook
Strength.
and
Correct.
something and their well-being. And then he talked about them being in a dark room. They talked about them being in a dark room and unwell and being in the garden and blossoming. And he used the word once.
Strength.
So what would you call if I'm in a dark and unhealthy place, or I'm in a beautiful field or a place that's very healthy to be in. I am in a different,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Is it strength?
It was
No.
environment. So the word that summarizes the physical location and the physical conditions would be environment. That was the magic word. But totally a level 8 question. It was a hard one.
But I got the last one.
Did you? What was it?
Yeah. Companionship.
Exactly. And you've got more than one word to use.
What?
If you used more than one word, what would you use?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. It was specifically human companionship, but there
Okay.
are on some of the listing questions.
I put only human. If you put only human, what about?
No, it's a companionship was really the key.
Okay.
Okay, so human companionship was the full answer. On some of the listening tasks, listening questions, there are other options. So it can be it can be either companionship or human companionship, but it would have to the word companionship would have to be there. Okay.
So do I get the grade for the question?
I would have to check the marking scheme. That's a question mark. It could be it could be acceptable. I would have to look at the marking scheme for this. Oh, actually, which we can do. Wait a minute. There's the answers. Yeah, they're looking for 2 words on that one. And so we had the option of dark to light or darkness to lightness, either one. And with or without the 20th century. So there we go.
I just missed some words. I just put 20th century.
No, that's fine. 20th century is fine. See, if it's got a parenthesis around it, it means that it's optional. Okay, so this could be written, 27 could be written dark to light or darkness to lightness. Both are correct. But there's no parentheses around humans, so I'm afraid, or companionship. So I'm afraid both words are necessary. Okay. Do we want to try the last one?
Yeah.
The next, good. Wait. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to also show you, this is what the answer sheet looks like. If you are taking the paper exam, you will write your answers on the question paper, and at the end you will have 10 minutes to transfer them to this special listing paper. There is a secret method of getting all of your capitalization correct. Print in all capital letters. If you print your answer in all capital letters, you don't have to worry about capitalization. And it is acceptable and it is allowed. So there's little secrets here and there. And I've got another secret about guessing that I can tell you as well. But I'll do that later. Let's finish the practice exam. Here is our next one. It is a lecture on time perspectives. And we need to actually look at, I think, all of them. So first we've got this chart. What does a chart help us with? I always like chart.
Information.
Yeah, so if we look at that now, here's the challenge. What is our instruction up here?
One word only.
Okay, so can we have
Mhm.
2?
No,
No.
Can we have a number?
no, I don't
Oh,
think so. It
no.
says word.
Just a
Words.
word. Exactly. Just a word. Okay, so we're going to be listening. For these, we've got a time zone. Past is positive, and what do you think the second will be?
Negative.
Yes, I'm going to make that guess too. So that's the great thing. When we've got a chart like this, we can anticipate answers. It's always nice to listen for something and find out, oh, it's I was right, or no, it's something else. But so that's nice. So once again so someone who is hedonistic is going to live for something. Okay. But it's going to, what do you think it's going to be? Is that going to be a positive or a negative? Is this word going to be a positive or negative thing? What do you think?
Negative.
Why? If this one, if under the past, we've got positive first, negative second.
Negative. Then
Ah,
positive, then negative. Okay.
see, the thing is that chart gives you so much information because it sets up a pattern, right? So this word that we're looking for here is going to probably be something positive, right? And down here, fatalistic, this is
Negative.
probably going to be something negative. Exactly. So second, when we look at the future down here, the second one is fatalistic. So this is going to be something
Positive.
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 Again. Exactly. All right. So now we've got that pattern. We can see
So
a
it
little
should be
bit.
hedonistic.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
they've done different. The past, they said positive and we think negative. The present, they said hedonistic and fatalistic. So this could be hedonistic. It's definitely going to be something pleasure, positive, something, right?
Mhm.
But the fact that these were not exactly the same as the past, the words used for the past are not exactly the same as the words used for the present. There's a chance that this will be a different word than hedonistic. All right. So, and so once again, we'll be looking for a something down here to fit. But do you see how now we've kind of got an idea of the structure of what we'll be listening to? Right? Because everything's going to come in order. So we have an idea of the structure of the talk that we'll be listening to. All right. I'm going to go ahead and let us look at the last 5 questions. So now we've got multiple choice. So right now it's saying we are all present hedonists, and it's either going to be at school, at birth, or while eating and drinking. Kind of interesting.
At birth.
Yeah. Like when we're born. So we're going to be listening to something about American boys dropping out of school at a higher rate than girls. And it's going to be one of these reasons. What does this mean? They need to be in control of the way they learn.
Yeah, they need to be in control.
So,
of the way.
Is a strict environment with lots of rules going to be the right way for them?
No.
No, they need to have a say in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. B is easy. They play video games instead of doing schoolwork. That
Yeah, I think
you're
B
right
is correct.
And
Yeah,
but
not
be careful, be careful. They may talk about video games. We got to make sure that it's instead of doing schoolwork,
okay,
right?
higher than girls.
For that to be correct. And the last one will be if they say that boys are not as smart as girls, then
They are not
no.
as intelligent as girls.
All right. So present orientated children. Let's see. They do not realize that present actions can have negative effects on the future. So they can't predict what will happen in there. They are unable to learn lessons from past mistakes, which means they don't remember, or maybe they just, and then C, present orientation, know what could happen if they do something bad, but they do it anyway. So one is not realizing that bad things can happen. One is not using past mistakes to understand. And the other one is they know it all, but they do it anyway.
So C
means they know it all, but they do it anyway. So do you see what I'm doing? I'm translating these into other sentences. What's that doing for me? What's the benefit of that when I start listening?
If the person who's speaking is paraphrasing, we will know what exactly we are looking for.
Because we're already thinking of it in other words. That's the way. So if you can paraphrase the questions and really understand the difference between, because some of these are very similar, right? So there's little differences between them. So if you can paraphrase those differences, then you have a better chance of hearing the answer. Right, if Americans had an extra day of work per week, they would spend it. A, working harder, B, building relationships,
Okay.
C, sharing family meals. Okay.
Working harder.
Would they do more work? Would they spend time with their families, or would they have food together? Good question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understanding how people think about time can help us become more virtuous. What does that mean? What does that mean? Become more virtuous. What does that mean?
So
how else would you say that? Be a better person.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Virtue means goodness. So that means become a better person. Work together better. So collaborate is a good word for working together. Other things that mean working together. Collaborate, work in groups. Oh gosh, there's a word I'm thinking of, but I can't come.
Team.
Yeah. All right. And the other possibility is by understanding how people think about time, we can identify careless or ambitious people. Okay, so people who are greedy for more success, or people who don't care about anything. All right, so we have our little pocket full of synonyms for all of these. Let's give it a try. Please make sure you stay muted through the recording. Okay, so first we have our chart to fill in. Let's see how it goes.
Section 4. You will hear a talk on the topic of time perspectives. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Which we've already done.
Specifically, I'll be looking at how and answer questions 31 to 40.
Sorry, there we go.
Today, I'm going to be talking about time. Specifically, I'll be looking at how people think about time and how these time perspectives structure our lives. According to social psychologists, there are 6 ways of thinking about time, which are called personal time zones. The first 2 are based in the past. Past positive thinkers spend most of their time in a state of nostalgia, fondly remembering moments such as birthdays, marriages, and important achievements in their life. These are the kinds of people who keep family records, books, and photo albums. People living in the past negative time zone are also absorbed by earlier times, but they focus on all the bad things, regrets, failures, poor decisions. They spend a lot of time thinking about how life could have been. Then, we have people who live in the present. Present hedonists are driven by pleasure and immediate sensation. Their life motto is to have a good time and avoid pain. Present fatalists live in the moment too, but they believe this moment is the product of circumstances entirely beyond their control. It's their fate, whether it's poverty, religion, or society itself. Something stops these people from believing they can play a role in changing their outcomes in life. Life simply is, and that's that. Looking at the future time zone, we can see that people classified as future active are the planners and go-getters. They work rather than play and resist temptation. Decisions are made based on potential consequences, not on the experience itself. A second future-orientated perspective, future fatalistic, is driven by the certainty of life after death and some kind of a judgment day when they will be assessed on how virtuously they have lived and what success they have had in their lives. Okay, let's move on. You might ask, how do these time zones affect our lives? Well, let's start at the beginning. Everyone is brought into this world as a present hedonist. No exceptions. Our initial needs and demands to be warm, secure, fed, and watered all stem from the present moment. But things change when we enter formal education. We're taught to stop existing in the moment and to begin thinking about future outcomes. But did you know that every 9 seconds, a child in the USA drops out of school? For boys, the rate is much higher than for girls. We could easily say, well, boys just aren't as bright as girls. But the evidence doesn't support this. A recent study states that boys in America, by the age of 21, have spent 10,000 hours playing video games. The research suggests that they'll never fit in the traditional classroom because these boys require a situation where they have the ability to manage their own learning environment. Now, let's look at the way we do prevention education. All prevention education is aimed at a future time zone. We say, don't smoke or you'll get cancer. Get good grades or you won't get a good job. But with present-orientated kids, that just doesn't work. Although they understand the potentially negative consequences of their actions, they persist with the behavior because they're not living for the future. They're in the moment right now. We can't use logic, and it's no use reminding them of potential fallout from their decisions or previous errors of judgment. We've got to get in their minds just as they're about to make a choice. Time perspectives make a big difference in how we value and use our time. When Americans are asked how busy they are, the vast majority report being busier than ever before. They admit to sacrificing their relationships, personal time, and a good night's sleep for their success. 20 years ago, 60% of Americans had sit-down dinners with their families, and now only 20% do. But when they're asked what they would do with an 8-day week, they say, oh, that'd be great. They would spend that time laboring away to achieve more. They're constantly trying to get ahead, to get toward a future point of happiness. So it's really important to be aware of how other people think about time. We tend to think, oh, that person's really irresponsible, or that guy's power hungry. But often, what we're looking at is not fundamental differences of personality, but really just different ways of thinking about time. Seeing these conflicts as differences in time perspective, rather than distinctions of character, can facilitate more effective cooperation between people and get the most out of each person's individual strengths.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Right. Challenging, eh? Do we have time to stay to work through them?
Yes, please.
Okay, good.
We just, yeah.
Okay. We'll run over time slightly, but I don't mind. Okay. So what is
31 is negative, like you said.
negative? Yes, we guessed that. It was right. Isn't that great?
It's negative time, yeah.
Yes. Isn't it? Doesn't it feel good when you can anticipate an answer even when you haven't heard the information?
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like I've won something when I do that. So how about the question 32? What was that?
Is a matter
Pleasure. Pleasure.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Is right. Pleasure is right. So let's see. How about 33? Life is governed by
poverty.
Fate. Not fate?
Poverty.
Poverty, I think.
Pretty sure it was poverty. Number 3.
Yeah.
Poverty. Yes. Okay. Let's see. How about 34? What was that one?
Active.
Actives?
Yes. So it was similar. It was definitely a positive thing, but it was slightly different from the other ones as we anticipated. And number 35.
Successful, I think.
Success.
Successfully had.
Yes.
Just success?
Success. I actually got that one wrong.
Yeah, I got only one wrong.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought it
one
was
word
virtue,
only.
but it was success.
Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I get 4.
Good job. Yay. All right. How about our multiple choice?
36 is B.
Yes. Did everyone get that?
I missed that one.
We're very from the very beginning. We are present heat.
Yeah.
How about 37? Which one was that?
A.
Good job. Number 38.
C.
Yep, that's right. Did everyone get C?
I know, I just, yeah.
That was a hard question. It was, the answer was not given in those exact words at all. And both of the other two were also spoken about, but not in those exact words. So that was a really hard one. So if you got that one right, big pat on the back. That one was super hard. All right, number 39. What would Americans do if they had extra time?
Work harder.
Exactly. And the last one?
B.
Yes.
Because it says collaborate. What you said, yeah.
Yeah, collaborate.
Work together.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, here's the magic trick. Look at, here's my, please keep yourself muted if you're not talking. Here's my magic answer. If you were guessing these, right, 36 through 37, if for some reason you missed them all right, if you were guessing, the magic thing is pick a letter. If you pick A or B, and you filled A or B into all of these, so if you had written A, how many would you get right?
2.
Exactly. If you chose B,
2.
Exactly. So that's the trick for guessing. All right. If you're guessing multiple choice, pick a letter and use it for all of them. You will get more points. You have a better chance of getting more points. If you were just randomly guessing each of these and you said a different letter on each one, you could get all of them wrong. But if you guess the same letter for all of them, you will get some of them right. It's just a magic test taking tip, and straight from the British Council, by the way. You know, I'm not inventing this stuff. It really works. And like I said, you can fill all of this in all caps. All right. So if you print in capital letters, first of all, it makes your writing really clear. That's a good thing. So it's easy for them to read. And second of all, you will not get anything marked off for capitalization. It won't matter. You don't have to remember to capitalize that titles of books are capitalized. You don't have it, just write it in all capital letters. Does everybody know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's a book name, I think.
Yes. So if you're writing in both upper and lowercase letters, it will make a difference if you capitalize it. If you print in all capital letters, when you transfer your information to the answer sheet, then you will get credit no matter what. It won't, capitalization won't count for you. So you will get all the points whether the thing needed to be capitalized or not. Okay.
You mean we can translate our answer in capital letter?
Yes.
Okay.
But just use all capital letters when you transcribe it.
Okay.
It's just a test taking technique, like guessing all the same letter on multiple choice works. Writing in all caps works. It will get you more points. That's all. Okay. I'm all about how to get you more points. So, you know, the good news is you can miss 10 questions and get a 7. All right. So it's not you know, you don't have to get all of them right. You just have to get enough of them right. So if I go over IELTS Liz. No, she's not up there. There we go. Yeah, test info, band scores. There we go. She's my favorite place for band scores. So for the listening, 30 to 31 questions correct gets you a 7. So if you can see this. So this is the wonderful thing. And that is also true of the reading exam. 32 to 30 will get you a 7. All right. So that's 10 questions you can miss. All right. So maybe that guessing technique will get you over the threshold to that 30th question correct. Maybe making sure you put everything in all caps, all capital letters will push you just over the edge to that score that you need. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What do you mean 30 to 31 get you a 7?
Well, this is what I've got on the screen right now. These are how many answers you have to get correct in order to get this band score. Yes. So if you see 30 to 31 in listening.
30 to 31 is how many questions? 1.
30 to 31 questions, correct. That means you can get 10
in total 40 questions.
In total for the out of 40. Yes, this is out of 40. So 30.
In
30
total,
yes, 30 out of 40 will get you a 7.
oh, 30 out of 40, okay.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Next week, we are going to look at the writing exam and look at understanding the questions there. Because once again, the answer will be in the questions. So, I'm gonna.
Hello, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you
Again.
can.
Because I want to do the IELTS exam, but I don't know where to do it. This
Yeah.
is my second time asking, yeah. So why can I do the exams? Because I want to do the exams.
Yes. I'm gonna stop the recording real quick.